She does not speak. She does not cry. She just stands there, as every Roman eye turned away from her. A woman draped in dark wool, walking slowly through the forum. The crowds part, not out of respect, but out of fear, because in ancient Rome, a widow was not just a woman who lost her husband. She was a warning, a shadow, a symbol of misfortune the city whispered about, but never confronted. Rome honored victory. Rome worshipped power, but a woman who survived her husband, they called her a bad omen, and her presence alone could change the fate of a ceremony, a wedding, even an election. Tonight, we walk with her into the world Rome tried to forget. Her name is Marcia. Her husband, a respected Roman officer, died suddenly during a campaign on the Danube. Not a glorious death in battle, but a fever, a quiet, invisible enemy Rome despised. The moment the news reached her doorstep, Marcia's life did not simply change. It shattered. The neighbors who once greeted her warmly now closed their doors. Friends who once praised her dignity now crossed the street when she approached. Women touched their necklaces, a subtle gesture of protection, as she walked past. Why? Because Rome believed misfortune was contagious, not physically, but spiritually. A widow represented an interruption in the natural order, a break in the harmony of the household gods. To lose a husband meant the gods had withdrawn their favor, and if the gods turned away from her, they might turn away from anyone standing near her. So the city avoided her, silently, ruthlessly. Marcia knew the rules. A Roman widow must dress in dark tones, walk slowly, speak softly, avoid celebrations, festivals, weddings. She was expected to step aside, to disappear, until Rome decided she was acceptable again. But the harshest expectation came from the law itself. A widow was encouraged, often pressured, to remarry quickly, not because Rome cared for her loneliness, but because a household without a husband was considered incomplete, unstable, a threat to the social fabric. The state wanted her remarried within 1 year, sometimes less. Her emotions were irrelevant. Her grief was inconvenient. Her autonomy, optional. One afternoon, Marcia walks to the temple of Juno. She brings an offering, not of hope, but of endurance. Inside, she sees the faces of other widows, all silent, all invisible. Together, they stand before the altar, but none meet each other's eyes. Rome has taught them to hide their pain, to carry loss as if it were a stain. A young girl enters with her mother. The mother pulls the child away instantly, whispers, "Do not look." Misfortune follows them. Marcia turns away. She is used to it. Even in legal matters, widows struggled. Their property, their finances, their contracts, all scrutinized, all questioned. Rome believed a woman without a husband was unstable, emotionally weak, and easily manipulated. So every widow lived with a shadow over her name, a suspicion, a curse she did not choose. But the most tragic part, Rome feared widows and yet expected them to be pillars of virtue. They must grieve, but not too long. They must be loyal to their late husbands, but not so loyal they refuse remarriage. They must be invisible, yet dignified, silent, yet morally perfect. It was a cage built from contradictions. And Marcia, she learned to survive inside it. Why does this story matter? Because Rome's fear of widows was not about superstition alone. It was about control. A widow was one of the few Roman women who briefly tasted independence. She could control property, make decisions, run a household, sign contracts, and Rome, a society built on hierarchy, feared that freedom. So they wrapped it in superstition, called her unlucky, a bad omen, someone to keep at a distance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." But Rome tried to control minds by shaping beliefs, and widows became victims of that belief system. Seneca warned, "We suffer more from imagination than from reality." Widows suffered because Rome imagined they were dangerous, and society believed the illusion. But the Stoics teach us something deeper. Fear of misfortune does not remove misfortune. Fear of pain does not prevent pain. Avoiding the unlucky does not make life safer. If anything, it makes us weaker, less compassionate, less human. The Roman widow is a mirror, showing how societies punish those who remind us of mortality, loss, and the fragility of life. Tonight, think about the things you avoid, the people you overlook, the truths you hide from because they make you uncomfortable. Loss is not a curse. Grief is not a stain. A person carrying sorrow is not an omen. They are a survivor. Whisper this to yourself. What I fear is often just a shadow. Step toward the things that make you stronger. Do not let superstition or society define your worth. If you seek ancient wisdom, stay close.